Happy Monday, leaders. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, Sabina.
Hi. I like strong colors. You should see my trousers.
Love it. Yes, Sabina. Hey, Brittany. Hey, Sherry.
Love those. So great. Hey, everybody. Hey,
Thank
Brittany.
you.
Hey, Sherry.
Thank
Morning.
Hi, Brittany.
Happy Monday. It's nice to see you guys. I know that last week was technically a Monday in this month, and it also feels like a new month to me today, especially because we have a new topic. So I hope you all saw. Did you all see that our focus for the month is feedback?
Yep.
Yes. Thank you, Julie, for posting that for the interwebs. Lovely. Oh yeah, I'm excited about this one. I'm excited about all the tools, but this is a real good one, and it's come up. Yeah, it's come up a lot in life since graduating the container. So I'm looking forward to diving into this new topic, this new tool for all of us, and how we approach and receive feedback. So if you are keeping notes in a notebook, we're on a new topic for today, for the next few weeks. Let's start though by introducing ourselves by our ways of being. Let them lead, please. Your contract. We'd like to
I'm a powerful, passionate, creative leader, and I'm a Tina Turner. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. The Tina
Good
Turner
morning.
musical is coming to the town where I live right now, and I was like, Sherry needs to come to town. They'll probably come to your town too, though. But yeah, great.
It was here too last year.
Oh, really?
I saw it. Yeah.
How was it, Sabina? Did you enjoy it?
It's lovely. It's
Oh,
really
good.
lovely. And I saw it with a Tina Turner from the container. So yeah. And I am a loving, connected, and authentic woman. And I am a butterfly.
One more time, Sabina.
I am a loving, connected, authentic woman. And I am a butterfly.
I am an open, courageous, passionate woman. I am J-Lo. Baton to Brittany.
Good morning, everybody. I was thinking about the time before last time, because I wasn't there last week, but I was thinking about how we were talking about maybe what I was, and I think I probably am Flashdance. So that being said, I am a courageous, confident, and loving leader, and I am Flashdance.
Yes,
Hey, Brittany.
Woo. Welcome. Yeah, to Julie's stretch. I love it. I'm a loving, connected, courageous woman. I'm J-Lo. Whoop whoop. Hey-o. Okay, my babes. So let's dive into feedback. And Brittany, at the top of our conversation here, I'm going to ask our leaders who had feedback training to, weigh in on what that was like. Just imagine that you were there, and the takeaways from their experience is plenty. So I want you to feel included in this conversation and not like you're behind or missing out on anything. And you might not have a contribution to add at the very start as we go back through what it was like to learn how to have this tool. You're going to learn how to have this tool here anyway this month, so it's okay. So weigh in if you have anything, and don't feel pressured if you don't, okay? So the rest of us, Julie, Lori, Sabina, and Sherry, what was your experience with feedback in the training container? Go right ahead, jump right in.
Yeah, I just, all the nerds and rackets came up. I like literally froze because I had leaned into the supporting and it was, all the rackets. And so I literally started crying. That was my reaction, to be able to say the truth and speak the truth, because it was always just the undercurrent thing, but not saying it out loud. It was brutal for me.
Standing in your power and using your voice around that, Sherry, that was the stretch for you. So powerful, pun intended. Okay, I love that. Who else? What was your experience learning this?
Was terrifying. The first time, as I was posting in the Facebook group earlier, I even said, remember guys how it felt the first time we had to give feedback to a total stranger. Never mind someone but someone that you've barely met, and having to lean into somehow feeling the person and just trusting that the feedback is true, at least true for us, that but sometimes all the doubts would creep in, because in the exercise you had to shout out the feedback, and so no choice, can't hold back. And but I don't know, so all the doubts, I don't know this person, how can I say this or this or this? And then when we've done this in more private, groups, still in the container, but then we had time to say, to to debrief on the feedback that was given to us, and like the accuracy of the feedback you receive from people who've just met you, and the accuracy of the feedback that you give to people you've just met as well was wild, I found.
Exactly. So a couple things there. I heard you say the word trust twice in your share. Like you have to trust yourself to know, and trust the person who's giving you the trust. And ultimately, the end result of that was that it was accurate. So what if you just led with the trust, right? That's part of the takeaway. Analyzers, right? We get to trust ourselves, especially analyzers. So the value in the feedback, which we'll get to, the value in the feedback won't find its way to us if we insist on establishing, reestablishing, and affirming trust first. Because trust is an inside job. It won't be made from the outside. It's an inside job. So if you bring your trust, if you lead with your trust, then you'll get the gifts inside the feedback. Otherwise, you'll never get the gifts, right? So yeah, there's so much in your share, Julie, and I'm just going to keep unfolding as we go. That's the top one there for now. Yeah. Okay, great. Who's next? Thank you, Julie.
I had the experience of, I didn't think about it a lot. I just kind of followed like inner feeling, like, when we had just 2 minutes or so, we just had to see somebody and rate like 1, 2, 3, or 4. And I was just, I don't know, I didn't think much and I just went for it. I mean, I just, I don't recall having stress because of it, but yeah.
Great. Do you remember receiving it, Sabina?
Yes, and receiving it was what surprised me, just like Julie said, is the accuracy of, like, they were right. They were right. So, I mean, it was correct. It was correct. That was a surprise. Yeah.
Beautiful. Lori?
Yeah, the receiving, I remember the receiving was such a Johari window for me. I thought that I was this person on the outside, and these are people that I barely knew that are drilling in. I was like, holy shit, is that how people that don't even know me see me? Because how I think I see me is somewhere different. Yeah, so that's the feeling I remember. I'm like, that first time my experience of you, I think it was, the very first time I was like, holy moly. And then to be the person that is offering feedback. I remember the first time also, the feeling of it was like, oh, I'm not being a nice person, but I am a nice person, but I don't want to do this because then it feels, the nerds, the joy of the nerd, I think you said started coming up. I'm like, but if I say this, then I'm not nice, and I want to be perceived. I want to be seen. And then that's my,
Yeah, then we're in controlment, right? Yeah. So yeah, it reminds me of the video clip that I posted in our chat, right? About, do you want to be perceived as nice, or do you want to actually love someone enough to be that person for them, right? Do you want to be comfortable, or do you want to and sit in your dinner chair, or do you want to let someone know that they're walking around with toilet paper on their shoe?
Yeah.
Right? Are you willing to be uncomfortable for a minute for someone else's benefit? If not, that's the opposite of generous, which is a great trail from our last month's theme on generosity. So lots to uncover here. I'll add also my experience in the container with the feedback, that the gig was up, because I didn't think I was seeable. I didn't think anybody could see me. I didn't think I could be seen clearly and reflected back and observed enough to matter in a room. So the feedback and how people were seeing me was like, oh God, I think I'm hiding. I'm only hiding from myself. The whole world can see me. And also the feedback that came with, and you're not being consistent about it. I was never given feedback that I wasn't authentic, but there was definitely this undercurrent of the way you act and the way I know you are is not the same, or the way what you say and what you don't say. There's a huge chasm between those two buckets of words, if you will. That's where I come to like, oh, the gig is up. Is it the gig or the jig? The jig is up? The gig is up. Okay. And I realized like, wow, I'm pretending I'm not visible, which is horseshit, which means that I'm not responsible for my energy when I walk into the room, which is super not generous or powerful or probably safe. And they can tell I'm holding back. So now I look like I'm disconnected and a fraud. That's so awesome. So I realized, oh, well then, sort of like what you said, Sherry, I get to speak now, boy. Because sometimes when I used to speak up, bad things would happen. So fuck, right? Now I'm in it. So there was all this self-awareness about what some of you have also said, the Johari window and speaking up and the accuracy of what they could see. Like, how could they tell I was hiding? I'm a really good hider. What do you mean you could tell I was hiding? How could you tell? Because I'm a good hider. So there was all that, sort of being revealed and seen and cared enough about for someone who didn't know me, to be honest, right? It's so sometimes I find feedback from folks who I don't know to be wildly valuable because there's no investment in the relationship. Whereas if I ask a good friend, how do you see me? They're like, well, I know where your heart was, which means you were being a raging bitch and you didn't come across effectively. But a friend doesn't sometimes want to tell you that, which is unfortunate because they should be the ones who are the most confrontive and direct, right? And so we were given that in our third round of feedback, confrontive, direct, honest feedback. We didn't start there though. We started with more neutral observations. And it reminds me of a book club I'm in right now. There's another practice that is you have. We partner up into pairs and the exercise is you have. And you're just meant to say to the person, Sherry, you have a plaid shirt on. Sherry, you have blonde hair. Sherry, you have a thoughtful look. Sherry, you have. And it goes, the range of the share goes from the practical, mundane color of your hair, color of your eyes, up to anything else that you perceive about a person. And what I learned in our leadership training was my perception is wickedly accurate. I can see someone, I can see their soul and pluck it out and give them clear feedback on what I see, which usually shakes people a bit. So here I am in this book club and giving feedback. You have. And most of the women find it really painful to just be on the receiving end of that. Gina, you have brown hair. Gina, you have a brown shirt on. Gina, you have hair that's longer than your shoulders. And women are like, I can't hear it. Because just having attention on them feels off-putting. And it led me to reflect back on our leadership container, like, wow. If we're not willing to have attention on us on things that don't have an opinion or potentially what could feel like something bigger or more threatening than an opinion, if we can't even sit in that, how will we ever have our blind window in Johari open? How will we ever know what it's like to be on the receiving end of us? How will we ever be open to hearing from our beloved what they feel like being in relationship to us? If we don't even want to hear, you have a yellow shirt on today. How limited will our connections be if we don't even want to sit with that? And because I am more versed and comfortable with both giving and receiving feedback, and I do have this way of seeing deeper, which I learned in the container as well. When I'm in this skill building in the book club and I say, Brittany, you have a really sensitive way of listening deeply and being completely present to the person who's speaking. To the woman who can't even hear you have a yellow shirt on, that feels like their soul's being exposed. And what happens in response to that, the lockdown, the hiding, right? All the ways that we all showed up before feedback, it's the response that's the problem to the feedback, not the feedback. And yet we all were like, oh my God, the feedback was so mean. It was so, actually what we really now see post-container is the feedback was clear and hella accurate and exactly who I am. And even a stranger can see it because my presence on the planet is that potent, not because I'm that failed and broken and that asshole called me out on the street, which is what we think feedback is. No, feedback is the way of seeing how you be in the world. Feedback is just the mirror. You don't go into the mirror in the morning and scream at the mirror because your eyes are still brown. No, you look in the mirror and you're like, oh, there's my eyes. It's neutral. It's just feedback. It's just who you be in the world. But when we have that habit of locking down under the feedback, because we can't even be present to being seen, then how can we be present to really being seen? And God forbid, known. We got to put bars up around that heart, got to lock down and hide quicker. And so if I don't give you feedback, I won't have to sit in the experience of being deeply connected and known. So I'm not going to give you feedback and care about you and be neutral and objective and stand for you Because if I don't do that for you, then you won't do that for me. I'm shut down for feedback business, which means I don't have to be seen, which means I get to still live on the surface. Slippery slope. Okay. Feedback is so good. So much goodness in feedback. And we get to be responsible for the way we are present to the feedback and how we're not present to the feedback, more than how it felt to be on the receiving end of feedback. Because then we're making ourselves a victim of the other person being a quote bully, right? So what is actually, just using the word, not specifically from a book club or a training container, what is feedback? Do you guys know what the word is? Like, what's the running definition of feedback? I always like to use the word roots and get us closer to Julie.
Information.
Information. Yeah. What else? Interesting. This thing that we quick.
A response to a perception of
response to a perception. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
I would say it's how we arrive. We're getting like the mirror, right? Of how people are, because it's feedback. It's like it's feeding back. It's like how I arrive. It's how someone else perceives me.
Yeah. I love when you said the back. It's an act of generosity to offer it and to receive it. Generously seeing how you show up in the world. Exactly. Anybody else? Feedback? Yeah, we've covered it pretty much. And I drew from 2 different Webster's. Feedback is assessment, comments, criticism, evaluation, observation, reaction. And we're going to unpack that in a second here. Not all of that is leadership, but it's still a running definition of the word. And the second one is a response to a person's activity with the purpose, hear this, of helping them adjust to become more effective. Feedback comes in various forms, including evaluative, how you did and where you are, appreciative, how you are valued and recognized, and coaching, how you can improve. So feedback comes in many different forms, and I'm going to put a summary on this, an act of generosity for the benefit of the other person. What feedback isn't is you pissed me off, so you need to be different. That's not feedback. It's not feedback. It's never feedback. That's a complaint. So in the first definition, the most common definition of feedback, assessment, comment, criticism, evaluation, observation, and reaction. I believe that most of us going into the leadership container thought that feedback was going to be an onslaught of criticism. Did you think that at first? Going into feedback, an onslaught of criticism? Yeah, some heads are nodding. Right. Commonly, we have mistaken feedback to be criticism. And that is a very touchy, possibly not feedback definition. Me complaining to you about you for my agenda is not feedback. It's also not generous to either one of you. So I don't believe that feedback gets to be critical. I think that feedback can be heard as critical when we have all those bars over our heart and want to hide and not be seen for even the color of our shirt. If feedback feels like criticism, you get to check you first. If you're hearing criticism instead of the generosity, if you're feeling criticized instead of grateful for the reflection, that's a you thing. That's a you thing. And if you're neutral in the receiving of the feedback and someone else just has, energetically their finger pointing at you, that's also not feedback. That's their racket. Remember when we were in the container offering feedback, where that showed up in the training was not at the beginning when we all showed up with all of our bullshit and Samsonite packed to our back. That's not when feedback was offered, right? The first round of the you have, right? I see this in you, I see that in you. But the confrontive, direct, really courageous feedback was after we'd all been cleaned of our crud, tactful with tools, and cohesive in a community. Then you give confrontive, direct feedback. And we were asked, Lisa said, confrontive, direct, honest feedback. Those are the 3 qualifiers of the feedback, which was not criticism. You, buddy, in my pod showed up like an asshole and I'm tired of pulling the weight for you. It was never feedback. That's an agendized criticism that I need you to be different for my benefit. That is not feedback. Feedback started in the container with my experience of you is, which means it's just my experience. It might be my filter. I might be feeling criticized. That's my shit. If you are offering direct, honest, confrontive feedback and I feel criticized, that's my experience. Doesn't mean it was your feedback. And also, we don't respond to the feedback except thank you for caring enough about me to tell me the truth. But I've noticed many more times than I care to have the experience out in the wild with leaders who've graduated from the container giving each other feedback, and it's not fucking feedback at all. It's cliched terms using our tools by name to weaponize each other. And it doesn't work. Feedback is not criticism. It is not an agenda. It is not a dispute. That is not what feedback ever was when we were taught feedback. Feedback wasn't to clear the air, which is another phrase that we use. I'm going to clear with you and tell you just exactly how I feel about you. First of all, you're not clearing, and that's not feedback. That's not feedback. Feedback is, I don't even know you. I'm in observation. I am a mirror only. I am in observation mode. I am neutral about what I'm saying. And I am generous with what I'm saying. For you, not about me. Feedback is for you, not about me, ever. For you. Generous, not because of you or about me. It's not the same. So I think the way we use this word feedback out in the world, when we haven't been through leadership and experienced the profound benefit and gift of feedback from strangers who can see you so that you can hear yourself choking on your own words and observe yourself wanting to hide in a room of people. The gift that comes from that awareness is incredible. That is the takeaway for feedback. And in the world, we've been using it as a sophisticated way of having a temper tantrum, and is not the same thing. Sharon, you have a question?
You had said some awesome things. One of the things you said was feedback is for you. What do you mean by that?
What does it mean to you?
Feedback is for you. You're talking about the person that's giving it or the receiver?
Well,
I think you're talking about the receiver. If somebody's giving me feedback, it's for me.
Yeah. Do you remember feedback and training? We started our talk today with reflecting back on the times we had practiced feedback in the container.
I remember those words very clearly.
All right.
Well, what I remember more than anything else is my experience of you, and then it continued. And it was really, there was no negativity in there because they were just sharing their honest feeling of you in that moment. It doesn't mean that forever, but in that moment, this is how I'm experiencing you. It's like, are you aware of this? Do you realize this is how you're coming across to me? And then you can argue with the person because that's their perception. That's how they're perceiving and experiencing you. It's their experience, and they're just sharing with you what it is.
Great. So do you see the answer to your question then? How is it for you?
Thank you.
Are you frozen?
No, you were frozen.
Oh, okay. It was me. Great.
I thank you for the deep questioning because it helped me discover. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Feedback is an act of generosity. It's not an act of covert hostility. Feedback is, if you're in a group of people, feedback is to feed the vision of everyone involved. It's not to be agendized about what you want to control next. It's not the same. Okay. So let's go back to the experience that we had offering feedback. So now we're the one giving the feedback, right? In your mind's eye, and it can be in the container, it can be in life. You're the one giving the feedback. How many of you experience giving feedback as a neutral experience? You're neutral while you're offering the feedback. Okay. Maybe 2. Okay. Maybe 3. Okay, good. Yes. How many of you, I'll ask it one more time. How many of you experience giving feedback as a neutral experience? You're the one giving it and you're neutral. Okay. Okay. So there's the next step for growth. Go back to the container. Well, actually, maybe you were in the container when I asked you that. Let me give you some ideas. If the neutrality, I don't want to make them up. For somebody here who didn't raise their hand, it wasn't neutral for you to give feedback. Would you be willing? I don't want to put anybody on the spot, and I kind of want to use a real example. For somebody who did not experience giving feedback as neutral, would you be willing to share what wasn't neutral about it for you? The giving the feedback. Sherry, thank you. Thanks. Bailing me out of that one. That was super messy.
Yeah, it's just coming up with all your nerds and stories. And so that, like a lot of emotion, wasn't neutral at all for me.
Okay.
All the holding back, afraid of your own power, right? So it's like you're trying to rein it in, and it wasn't neutral ever.
Did I hear you say then that offering feedback started to exploit your own preference to not be in your power?
Yes, it was like now with the tools and being more aware, it's like, okay, I'm manipulating a situation, trying to keep everything calm so that I don't have a storm.
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else have an experience of giving feedback, not being neutral as the giver?
Maybe
Julie?
when I was in the second round as a coach, maybe with having to really to be really careful about, when like someone, like one of the students I would feel would trigger something for me, that, okay, I need to, I could easily have gotten in the heat of things, gotten feedback that would not have been neutral.
Okay. Oh, awesome. And nobody outside of you, the triggers don't live outside of us. We walk around with them inside. So nobody triggers us.
No, because I could see in her, I guess I could see me in her.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this is great because feedback is for the other person and it's meant to be honest, clear, direct, and we are to observe in the same way that in book club, just observe. Your shirt is this color, your eyes are that color, your hair is this long. Okay. Just observing. There's no opinion, there's no criticism, there's no agenda, there's no previous relationship that you're bringing all your shit with you. It's just neutral. You're a neutral observer offering honest feedback for the other person's benefit, for their growth, for their vision. If we, as the feedback offerer, are not neutral, either because we're covertly wanting to even the score, or we're so caught up in our own hurt, our own limitations, our own addiction to our own rackets, we are no longer being generous. So all last month, we talked about giving and generosity. And if feedback is not neutral for you, you get to go back to generosity. It's literally a distinction of leadership. Feedback is not. Feedback's a quality and a skill of a leader, but generosity is literally a distinction of leadership. There's only 5, it's number 4. So when we make it about us and it's not for someone else, we've now dropped that distinction of leadership on the floor, and basically anything that comes out of your mouth next probably isn't feedback, because you're not being a distinction of leader in that moment. You're being about you and the hurt part of you, or the wounded part of you, the scared part of you, the righteous part of you. It's all the same stuff, right?
You know what I was thinking, Gina? I found it easier to give feedback earlier on when I didn't know people. And then later on, when it was like I knew them, or they pissed me off, or they showed up in a way, and then and that's where my feedback started, because it was in Racket Land, or rather than just saying, hey, you pissed me off, when, just saying it like that and clearing that out, that's when I found it. And even today, that's when I seem to find it more challenging.
Yeah, well, interesting. There's 2 different concepts in leadership tools here that are blurring. So one is the more we know someone, the more connected we are to their heart and wanting to see them in their goodness and in their light. And then also honest, confrontive, direct feedback, because it's in their betterment to continue to grow and expand and transform into their highest version of them. You only want to see the highest version of them. You don't want to see that they were just a passive aggressive ass kind of, right? And not giving them feedback in that moment means you would rather look good than love them.
Right.
Because if you know that their honest way of being is fucking phenomenal, and you don't want to give them the clarity of the reflection so that they can see how they're holding themselves back from being fucking phenomenal in all moments, then you're actually being a taker. You're not really loving them. So
or it's the toilet paper on the shoe. It's the toilet paper on the shoe.
Right. And you're making it up that I know them and I don't want to hurt them. Bullshit. You actually are hurting them if you run the math. So it's not your love that wants to hold back from feedback. It's your lack of love that wants to hold back from feedback. So notice that. Notice that. This goes back to operating systems, right? It's not generous to hold back. It's a racket. It's a racket to hold back. Okay, which means it's a broken part of you. It's not the asshole in them. And that leads me to the second thing that you mentioned, Lori. Giving someone feedback when they've pissed you off is not feedback, because it's not for them. You said, if I want to clear it up, or you either said clean it up or clear it up. And that's usually when we start saying one of those two words, and sometimes I say them both in the same sentence, that means there's energy held, and that is something you to clear. We've talked about clearing before. We're not on that tool right now, and I will still remind us, clearing doesn't mean go to someone else about how they pissed you off. That's attack. That's not clearing. Clearing is, I was triggered. I still react. I was no longer present. And I am now holding energy that's putting a chasm between us, and I own it. I acknowledge this is what came up. If you felt me disconnected when you were just sharing, or the 10 minutes that followed, or the hour after that, or the day that I didn't speak to you, it's because I was holding shit. And the prices we both paid for that was a lost day in the life together. That's me. Somebody else does not trigger you, us, right? That's not feedback. Clearing with someone is not giving them feedback about what an asshole they were and how upset you've been about it while you've been passively aggressively pouting. That's not feedback. So we confuse them sometimes, right? It's feedback is for them. It's not about us. So I looked back at the screen and I was like, she disconnected. It was too direct. Okay. The screen just configured. Sharon, you have a question?
I have a comment. That was eye-opener what you just said, at least for me, because I haven't used those words. Well, you triggered or you caused me to be triggered when they did nothing because they're not on my inside.
Right, exactly.
So I caused it. I allowed it. Thank you. That was an eye-opener for me. No more will I use those words.
Perfect.
Or at least I'll be conscious enough to checkmate myself.
Right.
So I don't wreck myself.
Perfect. Yeah, we talked about this. I gave you guys a takeaway phrase several months ago. Why is this not neutral? The way someone's talking, the way they're showing up, what they did, what they didn't do. What do you mean they triggered you? They didn't do a damn thing to you. Why isn't it neutral? Why are you all reactive to what they did, didn't do, said, didn't say? That's a you thing, babes. And then vocalizing that back at them, vomiting it that back out at them, that's your racket all over the front of their shirt. Well done. Now you got two things to clear, you and what you did to them. And by the way, it was never about them doing anything to you. Nobody triggers you. Your triggers are your places that get to be healed. It's wonderful to hear yourself all up in arms about what someone did, didn't do, said, didn't say. That's your next cut laid out for you on a buffet table, on a bamboo tray and fancy knives to cut it up and dice it up and make a charcuterie out of it. It's amazing to find a trigger, and it's not them doing it to you. That's your next cut, babes. Do not give feedback on your triggers back at the other person. That's saying to them, I don't really want to grow, and I don't want to grow in your presence. And I'm going to manipulate you into never speaking up or behaving that way again. That's what you're saying when you say someone else triggered me. That doesn't work. None of that works. Also fascinating to, if you're working through that, imagine what would someone else do. Right. So I'm going to use the blender experience again, and then we're going to get off the triggered, which is not feedback. But when Sabina shared with us about using the blender in the morning, right? For that moment, it was a big deal. How somebody else is using the blender in the kitchen, big deal, upsets me, pisses me off, sets my day on the wrong course, da, 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 da. But if somebody else could be in that room with the blender running and not even notice the blender running, there's a wide range of responses available, which means it can't be the other person. It can only be your chosen response to the other person. You can wide range and choose a different response, not even notice the blender, or the way someone parks, or the way they chew, or the tone of their voice, or whether they swear or not, right? You getting upset because someone else swears, that's a you thing. Why isn't it neutral? What judgment are you putting on that person? And who gives you the right to judge them for how they be in the world? Why isn't it neutral? Because there's 6 other people listening and they're not rubbed. They didn't even hear the curse word. That's a you thing. Triggers are yours, and awesome to find them. I'm not suggesting never be triggered, be a robot, be neutral, never have a response. No. Find your triggers, invite them onto the charcuterie tray and make something beautiful out of them. Just don't put it back on the other person, because it's yours. It wasn't theirs. Okay, interesting, because recently with a group of HCL graduates, I've had not one, but 2 conversations where someone else said, I get to clear with you, which clearly wasn't a clearing. It was an attack. And my response was not received well when I was like, so what you're saying is XYZ. And then I was told, you're not open to feedback. Well, I'm open to feedback. This is not feedback. This is you being activated, which leads me to the feedback when we're offering it. If you're revving like an engine on the inside, if you're a bucking bronco ready to go, you're not offering feedback. You're about to go apeshit vitriol on someone, probably. That's not feedback, babes. Feedback is neutral. Feedback is as neutral as you have a blue shirt on. My experience of you is quiet. My experience of you is outspoken. Neutral. They feel the same on the inside. It's not about you. It's not about your triggers and you being activated. It's for them, not about you. If you have all kinds of effect going on, that's your effect. You're not present to them fully because you got all this stuff you're navigating. You have a sauce of stew going on in here. You're not in the place to offer feedback. Probably should wait until you're neutral and focused outward. Feedback is focused outward. It's not an internal agenda that you're going to pack in some fancy leadership terms and toss on someone else's plate. You're not going to package up your shit scoop with fancy big words and put it on their plate and serve it for dinner and make them do something with it. No, that's agendized domination. It's not feedback. Feedback feels neutral. I don't need you to hear it. I don't need you to accept it. I don't need you to do anything with it. It's just for you. Take it if it lands, set it aside if it doesn't. I'm neutral. That's feedback. That's the energy of feedback. It's generous, it's verbal, it's shared. You're not holding back, but you're also not revved up, ready to go. Clear, honest, open, direct, confrontive feedback. Neutral. From a mode of observation, not a mode of reactivity. Feedback is not you reacting to someone else.
Can you say that again?
Yeah. I don't know. Can I? I don't know. What did I say? I don't know, Sharon.
Talk about mode activity. Feedback is not. You use the word mode of activity.
Reactivity. It's not a mode of reactivity, something like that. It's neutral.
Steaming engine of anger.
It's all good.
That's what you said.
Right, darling. I was in a flow. I was just pouring out
Very
a roof of my mouth.
good. Stay in the flow. Stay there.
Yeah. Julie. Hi, honey.
There's something else I've experienced giving feedback again to a student.
Yeah.
Where I believe the feedback was neutral, but I was stressed out of a better word giving the feedback about the reaction that the person may have to the feedback.
You were making it about you. You weren't being generous.
But then I felt the fear and did it anyway, that's the other way.
Okay. And what was the response?
To be honest, most often than not, despite my fear, should actually take the feedback well, and if not well in the moment, she would always go back and say oh yeah, no, I see, and take it on. Is that different, receiving it or taking it on?
First you said take, she would take the feedback, and then you said she would receive the feedback, and the third option was taking it on, which is different. Okay. What's the difference between take and receive feedback? Do people take feedback or do they receive feedback?
Receive. And what's the difference between from a purely language? What would be the difference between take and take on? Because maybe sometimes I use words in English that's maybe not necessarily.
Yeah, totally. The distinction between take versus take it on is mostly an energy difference. Taking can be transactional. Taking can be non-transformational. Taking it on so that I can transform with it and let this be my next cut, right? I'll use the triggers, for example. My experience of you is you're activated right now. My experience of you is not being able to hear what I have to share. We can have this conversation again later if that serves you better. Oh, I took that on. I was triggered. The trigger's me. It's not her. The trigger's me. Why was I triggered? Charcuterie tray. Oh my gosh, because it's how I used to do blah, blah, blah. It doesn't work anymore, right? I took it on. It was my next cut. I had a breakthrough. Where taking can just be transactional.
Because even taking when you asked me about did she take the feedback? It nearly felt like if I said she take the feedback is as if I throw it in and she could have taking it in the face, but actually not necessarily receive it.
Exactly.
But and as you described, it nearly feels like take on is even one step further than receive, because you could receive and do anything with it, right?
Exactly, Julie. Exactly.
Yeah. So I think it's the person who would be able to really, maybe possibly sometimes first take it, but then take it on, because she'd be like, she'd had that, she'd be clever, that way. So
okay.
maybe.
So my guess, not being there, my guess is that your nervousness about offering clear, honest, and making it about you created some transactional exchange. Whereas if you stretched into generosity for her benefit, there would have been a quicker turnaround for her to be taking it on and transforming with it. And you would have foregone the results of creating a transactional.
Yeah, because I can see that, because as a controller, and me as the, like having that, like we've talked about it many times, the controller is like, give it to me, for folks,
Yeah.
and that she would probably feel that little, why, on her side, I can imagine she would be like, stop fiddling, because it's like, oh, and so get maybe reacting to my way to the energy with which I was giving the feedback rather than the feedback. And then once she stripped that energy part with which it was given, she would fully see it and take it on. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll take our operating systems through to the end of the month with feedback, because you're bringing up a really good point. For those of you who have controllers in your life that you love, if you're not offering them feedback, they're not feeling your love. Just going to make that blanket statement. Controllers rarely get feedback, and it's rarely honest, and it's rarely generous. People think controllers know everything. They don't need the feedback. They're afraid to say it. They make it about them instead of being generous. If you're not offering honest, clear, neutral, generous feedback to the controllers in your life, they don't know you love them. They want to know you love them, but they don't know it for sure, because they don't get feedback very often. And if you're a controller, tell me if I'm wrong. Controllers don't get feedback. They get people whining, but they don't get, which is about the whiner, but they don't get feedback about them. Generously given, which is what feedback is. Generously given for you, not about me. Okay, amazing. Much more to go on feedback, and I loved where we started. Let's do a round robin laser digestion. What was your hot takeaway for feedback for today? Let's really digest it. Go ahead, Sherry.
I get to lean into generosity and not make it about me.
Beautiful. Who's next? Julie.
So for me now, it's like not only the feedback gets to be neutral, but the energy with which you give the feedback
gets to be. Yep. Beautiful.
Yep. Neutral, not reactive.
Otherwise, it's not feedback.
Exactly.
Great. Who's next?
It's for me also that neutrality, and also that if I have a different reaction than neutral, then it's about me and it's not for them. And that's something that I get to observe and not do.
Well, try not to need to stop yourself from it. Just recognize that thing that is happening is what you get to tend to and transform, right? Instead of like, oh, I shouldn't do that. Don't make yourself wrong about it. Just notice, I'm having a reaction here to giving feedback. Okay, I have something that gets to be looked at and loved on and transformed, and also give feedback.
Okay, thank you.
That's for all of us. Thanks for bringing that up. Great. Yeah. Okay, who's next?
Yes, good morning, everybody. For me, it's the opportunity. I see the honest, clear, and give a feedback, but I also opportunity to catch myself when I'm in reaction and also creating in the moment, rather than just get out or not saying anything. So it's an opportunity for choosing and creating.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Who's next?
Wow. I got a lot of slicing and dicing and chopping and, hey, making a delicious meal. Wow. It's just a mind opener and so much insight of how you give feedback and how you receive feedback and the purpose of it.
Great. Wow. Yeah, it's good to be reminded, right? Thanks, Sharon. Brittany?
Some of the big takeaways that I had today was being neutral. It's not about me. Being generous, and also trust yourself to deliver. Just stay in that trust and that intuition. I think we started with that today, and this conversation is just really powerful. Thank you all.
Good. I'm so glad. Yeah, what I'm hearing today is we all were a little in a perfect time to be reminded that feedback is not about you. It's not about you. The world is not doing anything to you. The world is a mirror for you. And as a leader, you get to be a human mirror for others, the ones that you love and care for and are in your vision, in your relationships with you. Remember the girl in your mind's eye in the restaurant walking around with toilet paper on her shoe. If you would feel weird going up and talking to her, you made it about you. You'd rather her feel uncomfortable so that you didn't feel uncomfortable to tell her that there was an awkward moment here. It's not about her personality or her character or the relationship you had or how she did or didn't do something at home. And if you're the person who would want something from her after you gave her that feedback, also not about you. You made your generosity for her betterment transactional, that you wanted something back, right? So just notice that, like, imagine yourself in many different restaurants with hopefully only one person. Otherwise, we'll have people walking around with toilet paper on their shoe all over the world, and we don't want to do that. Imagine yourself seeing one girl several times with toilet paper on her shoe. What comes up for you? Would you justify it? Like she was too far away from the restaurant and you would have embarrassed her if you walked up to her and let her keep walking? Yeah. So just note it, like take yourself through that scenario, not someone you know, so there's no history with them or anything like that. Walk yourself through that. And every time something comes up that's about you, notice what it is, mark it down, and then tend to it so that you can be transformed and present to the world around you. And not let people walk around with toilet paper on their shoe. For God's sake, get up and say something. Okay, my babes, you got this. Okay, great. So we're going to talk more about feedback as we go through the month. I'm adding the links in the chat. It was asked from me, where are they? This exact thing in the chat is in the top of your WhatsApp in the description. Somebody said they didn't know where to find it. It's there for you. It's here for you as well. Thank you all very much for your generosity. I appreciate each and every one of you. Was there value here for you today? Did you get a good takeaway? Okay, amazing. I love delivering value. My babes, be generous out in the world. Dioslina, question?
I see you say many times taking away, and I remember you say we're not taking away. So something changed.
Pardon me?
When we contribute, what I'm hearing when you say the question, what are you taking away from the training today? And I remember in the past you had this conversation with us that is not taking away. What was the other word that you say?
Did I just say
maybe an aha rather than a takeaway?
Today you say a few times, so maybe taking away. What are you taking away?
I said takeaway. So yeah, I didn't even hear myself say that, but it's coming from, I listen to a training every morning and they often say at the end, so the takeaway for today is, so now that phrase is in my head. Isn't that interesting when we're not aware and present to what rolls out of our mouth and what comes in? And you're right. I prefer not to use taking because it's transactional. So ahas, your awareness, the value that you received that you'll then go back and contribute into the world. Thanks for calling me forward on that. All right, babes. Thank you for your leadership. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.